Good morning. I'm Leslie Greene Bowman. I'm president of the Thomas Jefferson Foundation here at Monticello. I want to thank our first panel for asking and answering some essential questions. This is a watershed moment for us as well as the country. This is one of the largest gatherings on the legacies of slavery in recent American memory. Your presence testifies to the growing need for dialogue rooted in the origins of our country. What can Monticello reveal to us? This is an essential place to understand who we are as Americans. We are a people who embraced the promise that all men are created equal, yet relied on chattel slavery to drive this nation's economy for the first 90 years. The American story is the paradox that played out on this mountaintop, where the author of the Declaration of Independence owned and lived alongside hundreds of enslaved people. People who leveled this mountain right where you're sitting. People who built Monticello, who cooked, who served, planted, and harvested, who cared for his children and grandchildren and dug his grave. But they had lives, they had identities that were separate from our third president. Those lives, those stories have long been obscured in the shadow of slavery. Now we know details of some of their lives. Details about families, work, skills, hopes, and dreams. The Oral History Project that Gail and Cinder described has added another essential chapter to the story of slavery and freedom that began at Monticello. As you heard, we can trace the imprint of freedom's promise through generations of descendants, from the Underground Railroad to the Civil Rights Movement. We are honored to have a group of descendants with us today, and I know many are also watching online. Please stand and be recognized at the home of your ancestors. Thank you for lending your voice to this research and our conversation. Today's summit signals the start of a new chapter for Monticello. Together, we're bringing history forward, considering how our past can inform our present and shape our future. We are honored to be taking that step with exceptional partners, starting with the descendants of Monticello's enslaved families. Talented speakers and artists leading this summit and this conversation. The National Endowment for the Humanities, and I thank Chairman Adams, who's with us. The University of Virginia, I thank Chad Wellman, who's put so much effort into this partnership. The Mellon Foundation, David Rubenstein, who loaned us the original copy of the 13th Amendment on view at our visitor center until September 20th. And I thank all of you who made the effort to be here today. We are also joined by community partners who are helping to explicate the legacies of slavery. They are featured in the partner tent at the rear of the West Lawn. We encourage you to go there at the end of the program, a really perfect place to continue this dialogue. And that's where we invite you to literally add to the dialogue by recording your reflections on this event, by participating in a project initiated by Michelle Norris, the Race Card Project. We invite you to fill out your thoughts on race. Now, to continue our program, please join me in welcoming the Community Performance Project, in collaboration with artist and activist Bree Newsome and the Joy Movement Dance Company. Thank you.
This is a remix. Ricky. With samplings from Pearl Cleage, Minister Louis Farrakhan, Dr. King, Kendrick Lamar, Frank X. Walker, Cornel West, Marvin Gaye, Andrew Levy, and Abel Mebrapol. Remix. Ricky.
From the first time we receive our first civic lessons, our first filtered glimpses of national history, Americans are taught one crucial lesson about slavery: that there was no practical way to free the slaves.
We are taught, for instance, that the law forbade such emancipations, that economic obstacles prevented it, that many slaveholders wanted to do it, but their debts prevented it.
We are taught in particular that the founders wanted to free slaves, but could not because they faced insurmountable obstacles, because freed slaves would be unable to care for themselves and would face so much resistance from the resentful whites, they would have to be removed, placed west of the Appalachians, or shipped back to Africa.
The founders knew, and historians have reiterated this point for 2 centuries, that the compromise of slavery was the price of a republic, and every reasonable man and woman wanted a republic.
There's evidence to support these claims, but there's more to the story, y'all. Ricky. You see, in 1783, Jefferson drafted a version of Virginia's Constitution declaring all persons free.
Say what?
To be enacted on the New Year Eve of a brand new century. However, in the final draft, it was edited out.
No doubt.
Emancipation remained a theory, leaders anxious, leery, but at last came a man, Robert Carter III, who set free all he owned.
Word.
You ain't heard. He manumitted over 450 of his slaves, a deed of gift.
Indeed, a gift.
Yes, there's more to history than being taught. Multiple perspectives, ironies fraught. No, this ain't no lecture, not a textbook. This is a remix. So come close, listen, and look.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home.
Ricky. I wanna fly. Home. Oh, I wanna fly.
Home.
I want a chariot to pick me up and take a brother for a ride.
Home. Coming forth to carry me home. One might have called us angels.
Surely we epitomize the enlightened individual, versed in foreign tongues, skilled in foreign arts, self-sustaining, self-sufficient, and advanced civilization almost atop the world's. You might call us angels.
They called us slaves. Slaves laboring like ants in the bare earth under the hill. Slaves laid to rest at night without a stone to cover our heads. Slaves relinquished with the furniture to settle a dead man's debts.
Call us what you will, but remember our names, the angels of Monticello. I got a wings, you got a wings, all of God's children got a wings. When I get to heaven, gon' hitch on my wings, gon' fly all over God's heaven. Heaven.
By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion.
We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof.
For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
He wanted to set us free, but alas, self-preserving, pressured by positions presidential, governing the infant America. We can change and do what Jefferson wouldn't, what he wanted.
He dreamed and we built to last.
To grow.
To show there ain't no limits to a nurtured seed.
A growing fruit, not the bitter and strange kind, hanging lifeless, picked off too soon.
Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree.
So we stand here today at this historic moment. We are standing in the place of those who could not make it here today.
Tamira Rice.
We are standing on the
Samuel
blood
DuBose,
of those who died in the
Minerva
Middle
Granger,
Passage, who
Priscilla
died in the
Hemings,
fields and swamps of
unnamed
America,
child,
who died
Emmett
hanging
Till,
from trees in the
Walter
South,
Scott,
who died in the
Michael
cells
Brown,
of their jailers, who
Trayvon
died
Martin,
in the highways,
Sandra Bland,
who died in the fratricidal
Grant,
conflict that rages
Sean
within
Bell,
our community.
Laquan McDonald,
We are standing on the sacrifice
Diallo,
of the lives of those great
Malcolm
heroes,
X,
our great men
Fernando
and women that we
Castillo,
today may
Medgar
accomplish
Evers,
what life, duty,
Eric
life imparts
Garner,
upon each and one of
Freddie
us
Gray,
that comes this way.
unknown children.
Here is the fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the trees to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop.
Hard as hurting is, we must honor our journey, allow ourselves joy, celebrate our healing.
We gotta mobilize,
Yes.
move to heal, push through propagated lies, reach and remember our roots.
History is now me, you, us, you, yes, U.S., us of A, America.
Built by the womb of Mama Africa, yes, us, USA.
We can't get stuck in ruts of rage or rhetoric. Gotta move to deal.
Gotta dredge history's rivers and gullies.
Acknowledge the good, bad, and ugly.
Uncover what's been swept under the rug so snugly.
The vicious legacy of white supremacy contributes to the arrested development of democracy. And since communication is the lifeblood of democracy,
The very measure of the vitality of its public life,
we either come to terms with race and hang together,
or ignore it and hang separately.
You
You know we've got to find a way to bring some understanding here today. Oh, picket lines,
sister,
and picket signs.
sister,
Don't punish me
sister,
with brutality.
sister,
Talk to me
sister,
so you can see
sister.
what's going on.
What's going
Tell
on?
me
What's going on? For every 10 Beckwiths defending the right to wave a Confederate flag, there's at least one Kennedy.
For every racist governor and flaming cross, there's a white Catholic priest dodging bricks, wiping off spit, bleeding from the temple in the thick of a march.
For every 100 Southerners teeming with hatred, there's a set of kind blue eyes full of hope. There's a young heart
Unafraid of change and a reason not to fear or pity them all.
Our true legacy is not our triumph over a seemingly implacable foe.
But our determination to assert our humanity in the face of all we are forced to endure.
That is the legacy we share and the foundation of our ability to grow and grow stronger.
All's my life I had to fight. All's my life I messed up, homie, you messed up, but if God got us, then we gon' be all right. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be all right.
The battle is in our hands. The road ahead is not altogether a smooth one.
There are no broad highways that lead us easily and inevitably to quick solutions.
But we must keep going.
We must keep
We
going.
must keep going.
We must
keep
keep going.
We must
Keep going.
Keep going. Keep going. We must keep going.
Arise, O people, every corner of the earth. Rise up and go. See the promise that is yours. Heaven knows that till the land will enjoy the fruit of their hand, and peace will be upon them. West side rises together. East side rises together. South side rises together. North side rises together. dream of truth. On that day when all the people rise, break the yoke of oppression and wipe their dreamy eyes. No more shall they worry if a child is born to doom, and every seed that's planted in the spirit fully blooms. That great day, great day, great day, great day. We rise together. We rise together. We rise together. Oh, 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 we rise together. Oh, rise, oh people. Rise up and go. Rise up and go. Run on, don't ever slow.
Good morning. My name is William Adams. I'm the chairman of the National Endowment for the Humanities, and I just want to say how deeply proud we are to be a part of this gathering here today. I want to thank particularly Leslie Bowman and the board and staff of Monticello for doing this, for bringing us together in this way. My job here this morning is very briefly to introduce the second segment of this summit, entitled A More Perfect Union, the Modern Day Struggle for Racial Equality, and also to introduce its moderator, Henry Louis Gates Jr., and the panelists themselves. As many of you know, this event, this summit, is the concluding chapter in an extraordinary 4-day event that's been going on here in Charlottesville called Human Ties, an exploration of the relevance of the humanities to our public lives, to our nation, to our civic lives as citizens. And I can't think of a more fitting conclusion to that investigation which has been going on than to be here talking about these topics this morning. As we all know, race and race relations are topics of the most fundamental significance to our collective well-being, to our national life. It is also a topic that we cannot approach and really understand without the humanities and without, as these panelists previously said so beautifully and so powerfully, without the work of history. I was so glad that Marion Wright Edelman read that beautiful passage from James Baldwin. I was thinking of Faulkner's also haunting phrase, "The past is never dead. It isn't even past." We can't go through this work without recalling the past, not so much because we're condemned to repeat the mistakes of the past, but because we can't really know where we are without doing this fundamental work. So this is a compelling demonstration today of the way the past informs our lives and gets us ready to live differently. And of course, it's appropriate, last but not least, because of the wonderful role that the National Endowment for the Humanities has had here at Monticello in doing the fundamental work that is represented here today, including the archaeological excavations, as well as the reinterpretation of the landscape of slavery that's been done along Mulberry Road, shedding light on the stories of the enslaved people here at Monticello. Our first grant to this work goes back all the way to 1980, and we're very proud of the contribution we've made here. There's no one more appropriate to lead this panel today than Henry Louis Gates, Jr. He is, of course, an enormously distinguished scholar of African American studies and history, a model, I would also say, of the public intellectual and bringing scholarship to bear on our public lives, the theme of this broader conference, human ties, and a peerless demonstrator, I would say, of the significance of the humanities to our public lives. He also has a long and deep relationship with the NEH. He received the National Humanities Medal in 1998. He was the Jefferson Lecturer in 2002. And since 1980, Professor Gates has been involved with no less than 24 NEH grants, including 3 that I think are particularly noteworthy. Many Rivers to Cross, A History of the African American People, the 8-part documentary on African American history, the very important Transatlantic Slave Trade Database, and 10, no less than 10 NEH seminars and institutes for high school teachers and college and university faculty on various topics in African American history. Professor Gates is joined by 4 very distinguished panelists: Melanie Barnes, former assistant to the president and director of the White House Domestic Policy Council; Jamel Bowie, chief political correspondent for Slate magazine; John Meacham, executive editor at Random House and contributing editor at Time magazine; and Bree Newsome, community activist and organizer, and as you've just seen, a very talented composer and singer. Please join me in welcoming Henry Louis Gates, Jr. and this wonderful panel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, give it up for William Adams. He's a great, great chairman. As he implied, I've been studying the chairpersons at the National Endowment for the Humanities for a long time, trying to pick their pockets. And I have to say that none is more distinguished and more committed to freedom and justice than Chairman Adams. Give it up to this brother. And give it up to Bree Newsome. My God, the Community Performance Project. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Stand up. I'd like them to stand up, please.
Where'd they go?
Are they here? Oh, well.
Oh, they're stepping over there. They're over there talking, getting interviewed.
Oh, okay. Well, too bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't that amazing? Both parts? Just incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.